Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hold for Hold Pro Wrestling Podcast, bringing you the best of pro wrestling, one hold at a time. I am your host, Jaime. Before we get started in this show has been so much fun to do and produce and host and graphic design and everything else for, right? But in order for me to continue doing this, it would really help if you guys were able to subscribe to the channel on YouTube or whatever other podcast app you may be listening to this on, as well as following the channel on Instagram and Twitter at Hold for Hold. Just small gestures like that, they go an extraordinarily long way. Doing this stuff is like a lot, but it's a lot of fun as well. And I just want to make sure people actually like what I'm doing. I want to keep improving this show, making it more for you guys. So I would really love to hear y'all's input. Comment down below if you're on the YouTube. Just send a comment, or if you already follow the Hold for Hold anywhere, send a DM. Tell me, I listened and this is what I like, or this is what I would love to hear. Honestly, I'm an open book. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about this show. But anyways, enough with the sappy stuff. We have some pro wrestling to cover. It's actually been a pretty light week in terms of news stories, and I think we're going to do a much heavier focus just on the week-to-week stuff because of this. I think it's the break everyone needed because of all the toxicity that's been happening the last few weeks in the real world of pro wrestling. So yeah, we're just going to have a light, breezy chat today about, we got the Young Bucks maybe sending feelers to WWE. We got NXT changing up its look and perhaps its wrestling philosophy. And then we have the PWI 500, the infamous list that comes out every year and gets everyone all in a bunch. And I'll be talking about that, as well as covering SmackDown for this past week, Monday Night Raw from this past Monday, and Wednesday Night Dynamite. If you notice, I'm not covering Rampage. I think I'm just going to drop Rampage. I don't think it's the most important show. It has some great matches, like that Cesaro and Dax Harwood match. That was absolutely outstanding. So you should definitely still watch Rampage if you do. It's just I don't think it's that crucial to the show to cover it and write notes and do the whole spiel for it. But anyways, let's get started with some news. We have the Young Bucks sending feelers to WWE. Maybe, no, maybe, yes, no, yes, no. That's how it's been this week. This rumor originally came out, I think, like Saturday of last week, and pretty immediately people were denying this rumor, or they were saying it's true. It's like either one or the other. So there's a lot of debate going on. Fightful Select has like completely debunked it, saying it didn't happen. But it's still interesting to think about, and it was still worth mentioning because it was such a hot topic. Personally, I don't think we'll actually know the truth about this. Not to say that it is true or anything. It's just like the Young Bucks contractually cannot ever come clean about this because it breaks their contract. They could be sued, and they're not going to do that to themselves. Would I be shocked if there was some communication between the Young Bucks and WWE? No. I would not be shocked at all, especially just because of All Out. I would be shocked if it happened before all of these like rumors not rumors, all of this heat came to light between themselves and CM Punk. Like if they said they sent out feelers in May, then I'd be pretty shocked because to us, everything was going good. But more on AEW, let's continue on that track with this All Out media scrum. I think they're calling it the Brawl Out. That's what I keep seeing. So looks like a few people who were involved in the brawl, but mostly in a de-escalating way, such as Pat Buck and Brandon Cutler, have been unsuspended and are back to work this past week, which just makes sense. I wouldn't see Pat Buck trying to beat up CM Punk. I just can't imagine that. Next up, though, we're going to switch gears to the other black and gold brand. That's right, NXT 2.0 on its 1-year anniversary released a shocking little video of them taking away all the color crap and washing it over with this new black, yellow, and white color scheme that looks clean, very nice. As we all know, I do not cover NXT 2.0. And we all also should know that NXT was my absolute favorite pro wrestling program to ever watch. And and so this looks like they are definitely changing their look. But then also on this past NXT 2.0, we had Solo Sikoa picking up a win, beating Carmelo Hayes for the North American Championship. Now, I am a huge supporter of Carmelo Hayes. I cannot wait until he gets up on the main roster, him and Trick Williams. But, so I wasn't like happy that this title change happened per se on that end, out of spite, I guess. I'm just happy because Solo now is going to definitely elevate that title onto the main roster, and maybe we could see Carmelo Hayes take the NXT title from Braun Breaker and elevate that title the same way he's been doing with that NXT North American Championship. So just a couple little nuggets of NXT news. I am excited about their future. And, like I said before, if they start turning it around, it's a show that I will definitely cover because I will definitely be watching it if it's, a watchable product. Because to me right now, it's just not that important. I think there's some great talent. Like I've mentioned before, I think the Dynamite is outstanding. Solo Sikoa, Carmelo Hayes. They got, what's her name? Oh, I'm totally drawing a blank. Anyways, they got some great talent over there. But just right now, it's just not consequential enough for me to put that effort in. But I would love to hear what you guys think about NXT too, because to me, like I said, that was my favorite brand. And for them to do that drastic change really killed it. And I want to know what you guys think. If you are an NXT 2.0 fan, like, do you want to see this return back to normalcy of NXT? I definitely think there is bits that they need to keep, and I've mentioned this before, so I don't want to keep talking about it, but I do think there is a story-driven aspect of NXT 2.0 that is going to be important for NXT to succeed because their last few years, they were lacking big stories. I don't necessarily think NXT 2.0 has big stories, I just think they have a lot of stories, which could play out in their favor, like NXT UK, where they didn't have like a big story until Walter Iliad, but all their other sub stories consistently rolling in helped develop the world that NXT UK was in, and every character felt very fleshed out for the most part. And I think that's something that could happen with NXT 2.0 if they kind of just get away from all the corny and terrible acting, storytelling, and start just honing in on good stories. It could happen to them too, essentially. Anyways, though, I spent way more time on that than I thought I would. Let's talk Roman Reigns topping the PWI 500. Now, if you are unfamiliar with what this is, the PWI is the Pro Wrestling Illustrators annual best 500 wrestlers list, essentially. So I have the exact evaluation stuff. So the evaluation period for this year's PWI 500 is July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. So nearly a full year. Criteria for ranking includes win-loss record, technical ability, influence on the sport, success against the highest grade of competition, and success against the most diverse competition and activity. Activity being were they, healthy the entire time or during this evaluation period. So we're going to run down the top 10, and I'll tell you if I agree with them or not, I guess. So number 1, Roman Reigns. Definitely agree with that. The level of competition alone tops that list for him to be there. Kazuchika Okada, I don't know enough about his most recent title reign. I know he's won a lot of stuff, though, like the G1, and he has the title for a long time. So that's probably true. Now, here's where I would switch things. CM Punk at number 3, and Hangman Page at number 4, and Bobby Lashley at number 5, and Cody Rhodes at number 6. This middle section is not my order. So my order, personally, would be Cody Rhodes number 3, Hangman Page number 4, and then CM Punk, and then Bobby Lashley. But honestly, Lashley and CM Punk are interchangeable. I think Cody Rhodes, just the grade of competition he's had, the level of activity, the diverse competition, his technical ability, his influence. I mean, he single-handedly made Vince McMahon's Monday Night Raw good. I think that's a great influence. So yeah, and I'm not even that big of a Cody fan, to be honest. Like, if you were listening to this podcast this time last year, you know I really did not like Cody Rhodes, at least the stuff he was doing in AEW. But so yeah, that'd be my middle. And then so let's reiterate their version. Number 3, CM Punk. Number 4, Hangman Page. Number 5, Bobby Lashley. Number 6, Cody Rhodes. Number 7, Bryan Danielson. Number 8, Vikingo. Number 9, Big E. And number 10, Jonathan Gresham. Jonathan Gresham was definitely the most surprising person on this top 10 list, and not in any way a knock. It's just like I didn't think people would recognize him for that, for being that guy. I definitely could have saw Josh Alexander snatch this number 10 spot. You could have saw Jay White, Seth Rollins, Will Ospreay. So it's very cool to see Jonathan Gresham snatch this number 10. Bryan Danielson, to me, was my Pro Wrestler of the Year for 2021. No question about it. I also think he's making an excellent case for my Wrestler of the Year 2022. And we'll talk about him a lot more as we get into Dynamite. So yeah, this is a solid top 10 list. I know that a lot of people were not happy with the exclusion of Will Ospreay, Jay White, and Seth Rollins specifically, but I kind of get it. I kind of get it. That's just my opinion, though. Let me know what you guys think about this PWI 500, and in the comments, list all 500 of your favorite wrestlers, please and thank you. And anyways, that's the news for the day. There was some other stuff, but I felt like this is good enough. This is all you need to know. So let's move on forward to our SmackDown review from this past Friday. This SmackDown was pretty good. It did exceptionally well in the ratings. We had a really, really good opening. It's a contender for match of the week for sure. I definitely think it's the match of the week from WWE. But we'll get to that in a second. Overall, it was pretty standard. Bloodline dominated for the most part. We had some good matches in between. I haven't been enjoying SmackDown as much as I've been enjoying Raw, and that's a weird thing because before it was so flipped. I love SmackDown for Sami Zayn pretty much exclusively. Like, everything else is kind of just amp for me. And I don't know what that is. Could just be the way I watch it. Could just be, whatever. It could be my mood. But that's not to say that this didn't have some excellent moments, because it did. And we're going to open up with the Brawling Brutes being Butch, Ridge Holland, and Sheamus taking on Imperium, Gunther, Giovanni Vinci, and Ludwig Kaiser. This match was a banger. Like, truly outstanding stuff here. Violent as all get out. Ridge Holland got his ass beat, which I enjoy because I'm not gonna lie, I'm still a little mad that he broke Big E's neck. At one point, Walter chops the shit out of the back of his head, and I laughed so hard. And it's wrong of me, I know, but what can I say? Anyways, though, this match, just go watch it. I'm not gonna run through everything, but it does end with an Imperium bomb. That's that power bomb uppercut that Kaiser and Vinci usually hit. They hit that on Ridge Holland to get the pinfall win. I was a little surprised they got the win here so early. I hope they run it back for the next pay-per-view, because this is just like a great combo of people. It was nice to see Pete Dunne wrestle again like Pete Dunne. And honestly, I like the faster pace he works at now because of the Butch persona. But you can just tell it's Pete Dunne in there with Walter, and that's all I really need. Next up, though, we have Sami Zayn and the Bloodline, the Usos, coming out to the ring. They're about to welcome Solo Sikoa into the Bloodline. Sami Zayn is absolutely on another level here, just so happy and excited, and Jey Uso wants none of that. They call out Solo. Solo comes into the ring. He shakes the Usos' hands. Zayn goes for a hug. Solo is not having it. So it looks like we're going to have Solo Sikoa be another thorn in Sammy's side. So that kind of makes sense. That's what he needs to do. The Usos, though, lost my train of thought there. Solo said that if you come for his family, he's going to come for you. He said that he was, he was here to stay. Drew McIntyre interrupts the proceedings, hits him with a steel chair. He goes to hit Solo with a steel chair, but Sami Zayn pushes Solo out of the ring, so Zayn eats the steel chair. And so Drew and Solo are now staring at each other. Solo's on the ramp, Drew's in the ring, and he's just yelling at him, "I want you in a match tonight." And Solo accepts. So it looks like we're going to have that in the main event. Sorry that was such a train wreck of me trying to get out. It's just my notes were a little far, and so I needed to zoom in. Anyways, though, following that, we have Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah taking on Toxic Attraction in I think it's their first or second title defense here as the women's tag champions. And it's a pretty standard Raquel-Aaliyah match. Aaliyah gets her ass whooped the entire time, and Raquel comes in and hits the Chingona Bomb on JC Jane for the win, retaining their titles. Following this, we have the Fatal 5-Way number 1 contendership match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Liv Morgan watched this match from the crowd, which was cool to see. So let's just run through this. Deville got Rousey in a submission before Xia Li and Natalya. Oh, let's run through the participants. I'm sorry. We have Ronda Rousey, Xia Li, Lacey Evans, Sonya Deville, and Natalya in this match. Honestly, wasn't that great of a match, to be honest. So let's just cut to the ending here. Rousey was able to hit the Piper's Pit on Deville before locking in an ankle knock for the win. So it'll be Rousey taking on Liv Morgan at Extreme Rules, which this is going to be interesting. I don't know if they're going to have Liv beat Ronda clean here. I think there's storyline potentials now for Ronda Rousey holding that title. It greatly benefits that over having Liv still champ, unfortunately. Just the way they've been building up this relationship between Ronda and Shayna Baszler. I wouldn't be shocked if Shayna Baszler helps Ronda get the title, and then eventually, they feud over that title. So we're going to see. And this is the most interesting Ronda Rousey has been in her WWE career, so it kind of would be foolish of them not to capitalize on that. Following this, we get a really good backstage segment, giving us a better outlook into Solo Sikoa's personality, essentially. So the Bloodlines backstage, Solo is confronted by Sami Zayn. Solo says that Roman Reigns was right about you and that he appreciates Zayn's help. Then Sami Zayn and Jey Uso start getting an argument. Jimmy breaks it up. Zayn then tells Solo that the Bloodline was looking out for him, but Solo says that he needs to do this on his own. Jay's like, screw all that. We're going to join you for your match against Drew McIntyre later in the night. Just really good stuff. Building out, still carving out his own identity within this faction. That's a cool little bit to see. Following this, we have Shayna Baszler congratulating Ronda Rousey on her win. She says, even though you don't need it, good luck in your match against Liv. Rousey then tells her whenever she's ready to let her know, and then whenever they're ready, they'll break bones together and shake up the division. So clearly we're going to get some kind of alliance here. It's just going to be whether that comes into play at Extreme Rules. Following this, we have the Street Profits teaming up with Hit Row to take on Mace and Mansoor and Los Lotharios, the most handsome four people on the roster. This was a pretty typical match. Top Dollar gets the win after he catches Mansoor from the top rope, and they do their drop kick back suplex combo for the win. After this, we get Alpha Academy making their way down the ring, and you're kind of like, what the heck, this is SmackDown. Gable tells the cross to shoosh, thank you. And basically, he just says, I'm here for a receipt on Braun Strowman for costing us the tag title number 1 contender, which is a very valid point. But unfortunately, Braun Strowman comes out to the ring. He beats up both men and is able to powerbomb Otis for a ginormous applaud. It was a cool show of strength for sure. They're definitely reverting back to 2017 Braun, which is probably the right move. Probably the right move here. It's just, I just don't know where he's going to fit in. Because right now he's meddling in the tag division with with nothing, with no partner, no way he's going to win a tag title. So we'll see where this leads. I'm keeping optimistic as much as possible. I know a lot of people were upset that he quote unquote buried the tag division when he interrupted that number one contendership match. I wasn't that mad about it. The match had already gone on a pretty long time before he did that, but still didn't make anyone look particularly strong. So anyways, following this, we have Drew McIntyre being interviewed backstage. He's saying that he should be the WWE Universal Undisputed Champion, but because of Solo Sikoa, he is not. He then warned Solo that his actions have consequences and he would not like those consequences. And then we get our main event, Drew McIntyre taking on Solo Sikoa. This was a pretty good match. I thought Solo got a good amount of his offense in. Drew, pretty early on though, was able to hit a Future Shock DDT out of nowhere. He goes for a Claymore. The Usos pull Solo out of the ring. Right before the commercial break, we come back. Sami Zayn has distracted Drew McIntyre. Drew tosses Sami in the ring. Drew goes for a Claymore on Sami Zayn, but Solo catches him with a nice super kick for a near fall. The two exchange some strikes and some headbutts. The Usos lower the rope, so McIntyre falls over. The Usos start attacking Drew. Street Profits come out to the ring. They make the save. Montez Ford hits a giant crossbody onto everyone, and then McIntyre hit a Claymore on Solo, but it sends him out the ring. And in this, Karrion Kross comes out, puts Drew McIntyre in the cross jacket choke to end the match in a disqualification, and we see Kross and Scarlett in the show standing tall here. So clearly setting this match up for Extreme Rules. I think it's going to be a really good match. Like I said, there was some good stuff in here. Definitely very bloodline heavy, as always. My favorite bit of this show was the Imperium Brawling Brutes, because genuinely didn't expect that match to happen on free TV, first of all, and with them just coming back from that UK show. So that was a little bit wild. I didn't think that was going to happen so soon. So let's talk about Monday Night Raw now. The show kicks off. Well, let me just get into the generals. Again, I enjoyed Raw more than SmackDown. I think there's just a great balance of goofiness, big stories, and, you know, good wrestling as well. And I think they do have some of the more major players that I am concerned with, like Kevin Owens, Austin Theory, Johnny Gargano, Seth Rollins, and even the Judgment Day. I mean, Judgment Day had a big spotlight in this Raw, as you can tell from the thumbnail of this podcast. But yeah, we're going to get into all of it, I guess. Like I said, I enjoyed it more. Just personal taste, honestly. I think both shows were really good. I know Raw suffered pretty hard in the ratings because of Monday Night Football, but apparently it was still better than they were expecting. So that's nice. The show kicks off, though, with Seth Rollins. He cuts a promo. Crowd absolutely loves him. He basically says he has no interest in a rematch with Matt Riddle. Of course he doesn't. He won. Instead, he's more concerned about how he's been championship-less for so long, and that he wants to be the face of Raw. And this brings out Matt Riddle, and they start brawling all over the arena. Riddle then chases him off. The Judgment Day come out. Priest offers Matt Riddle the chance to join the Judgment Day, which is pretty interesting. Riddle says he's too focused on Seth Rollins, and the answer is no. This leads to a confrontation between himself and Finn Balor, and that leads us to our first match of the evening. This was a really good match. These two, I don't honestly know if they had a match in NXT, but this was really good. It's Matt Riddle versus Finn Balor. Pretty early on, Priest is trying to interfere, so Rey Mysterio comes out to neutralize that. Riddle hits like a fury of offense into a bro to sleep, and then Finn Balor is able to kick out. Finn avoids the floating bro. Riddle is able to avoid being hit by the coup de grace. Riddle is then able to hit Randy Orton's signature DDT, goes for an RKO before Seth Rollins distracts him, leading to Finn Balor getting the win with a coup de grace. And then afterwards, Seth Rollins gives the stomp to Matt Riddle once again and just tells him to move on, man. And yeah, so obviously they're going to have a rematch, and that's going to be stellar. And I'm glad we got to have this match because this was really fun. And it's nice to see that the Judgment Day is considering recruiting idiots. Speaking of which, Dominic Mysterio has a Very one-on-one personal interview. Well, it's not entirely one-on-one, but he's sitting in like this super dark room. The camera is all the way close to his face. You can see every single zit on his face. And he basically just explains that it's time for him to leave his father's shadow. Great line though, of for such a tiny man, you cast such a large shadow, and I'm tired of living under it. I really enjoyed that bit. This delivery isn't the best, obviously, because it's Dominic Mysterio. But the parts that I enjoyed, like the writing, well, for that specific part, I think some of the writing was still a little bit corny. But the highlight of this is clearly Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley just comes into frame, whispers something into his ear, and then he basically says, I'm not your little boy anymore, I'm a grown man, essentially. And you could tell that that's the line that Rhea fed him, and she looks very happy that he said it. So that is the part that's intriguing to me, that I enjoy these character developments here. I know Dominic was doing a lot of the cowling, like lifting his lip, very reminiscent of 97 Guerrero, but not as cool, obviously. So yeah, I think a lot of people shitted on this segment. I didn't hate it. I thought, yeah, it's corny, but I'm watching pro wrestling. At least he didn't do this in the middle of the ring where people are wetting him the whole time. I think for what it was probably the best way to do it. Following this, we have Austin Theory. He tells the world that Johnny Gargano will be facing Chad Gable. Gable then, he says that Johnny Gargano will forever be known as Johnny Shoosh. And so we're going to get that match later on tonight, which it was advertised that Johnny Gargano was going to wrestle tonight. And Gable being his first opponent back is outstanding stuff. And then we move into the WWE Women's Tag Championship title match between Raquel Gonzalez and Aaliyah, taking on Dakota Kai and Io Sky. This went about what you would expect. Aaliyah kind of gets isolated a lot here, and eventually Io Sky takes out Raquel on the outside with a beautiful moonsault, allowing Dakota Kai to hit the chiropractor for the win, picking up the tag titles. Kind of a short reign for Aaliyah and Raquel. They at least got a couple defenses under their belt, so that's nice, but definitely shorter than I thought it would be. From here, this is where it becomes tricky. Like, they have to keep focusing this division, and they need to find a story to center this title around, or else, you know, you're kind of falling back into the Vince McMahon era of things, of ignoring this title even exist, which I have faith that they're going to do better at, because genuinely, even with Aaliyah and Raquel being champs and not necessarily being featured in big stories, they were featured on every single week of weekly television. So that was good to see. And with Io and Dakota being such integral parts of the Bayley story, I think we're set up for a good representation of the women's tag titles. Following this, though, backstage, Rey Mysterio is absolutely begging his son to not take this match with Edge. Dominic doesn't even acknowledges him, and then Rhea comes by, and she basically does the talking for him, and they head out. They have their heart set. Dominic's going to take this match. Following this, we have a banger match. Johnny Gargano taking on Chad Gable. Very, very good match here. Gable tries to get the victory with an ankle lock and the Chaos Theory German suplex, but Gargano blocks that German by trying to go into a roll-up. Eventually, Johnny does get the victory with a one final beat DDT that Gable absolutely spikes himself with. After the match, Gargano is on the ramp. After the match, Gargano avoids an attack by Otis. Then he walks his way back up to the ramp, and he's hit from behind with the Money in the Bank briefcase by Austin Theory. Austin then cuts a promo, and that's immediately interrupted by Kevin Owens. And this is the segment of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Owens rips Austin Theory a new one, just absolutely obliterates him. Basically, Kevin Owens this is his last ditch effort to try to talk some sense into Austin Theory, and Austin's response is just perfect here. He says, look at how many guys have been just like you and how long they've fared in WWE. They've fizzled out. Hundreds of guys have fizzled out just like you will if you don't change your ways. And he brings out some great logic of like, I don't blame you for having everything handed to you. My first Universal title win was basically handed to me. But guys like me and Gargano, look how many of us have shined under these conditions. And to end this segment, I'm not doing it justice. You do need to go watch this because I'm obviously not Kevin Owens. But this segment ends with Kevin Owens kind of thinking he's reached Austin Theory. Austin Theory kind of looks like, oh shit, like, oh, maybe this guy's right. But in the most jackass way, Theory takes his mic and flexes his bicep up and says, "You'll never be like me." Just absolutely great. And then Kevin Owens is like, well, all right, and just smacks the shit out of him. And it was great. And then they get in a big old brawl, pulled away from security. It looks like Austin Theory has like busted his nose or broke his nose. And Kevin Owens tells him this is just the beginning. So it looks like Kevin Owens is going to be the guy that breaks Theory. And you couldn't ask for a better role for Kevin Owens here, to be that guy, to be the reality check for Austin Theory. This was really good stuff. Really good stuff. Following this, we had the Raw Women's Championship Open Challenge. Bianca Belair put out the Open Challenge, and Sonya Deville answered it. She has a great line when Sonya starts to cut a promo, and Bianca's like, "This is an open challenge, not an open mic." And so they get in, and Bianca wins this match with the KOD pretty easily here. After the match, Bayley comes to the ring. She says that she will have a match with Bianca when the time is right. Damage Control then surrounds the ring. Bianca tries to fight them all off, but eventually, and is eventually helped out by Alexa Bliss and Asuka. The babyfaces get the numbers advantage back, and Bianca hits a spine buster on Bayley. I'm looking forward to this match. I think, obviously the next contenders for those women's titles are Alexa Bliss and Asuka. But more importantly, Bianca Bayley have great chemistry. If you've seen their Hell in a Cell match, you know that these two could put on great matches. So I'm really looking forward to this match. It could happen at Hell in a Cell, or at Extreme Rules. They could also do a rematch of the trios match. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that. Next up, we have a squash match with Omos. He's accompanied by MVP. Takes on a couple jobbers, beats the crap out of them. Pretty much nothing to say here. I'm kind of sad that MVP is still saddled with this guy, because clearly they don't have any plans for him. And I love MVP, and I just wish he was back with Bobby Lashley or doing something else that puts him on TV much more regularly and in a speaking capacity. After this, we get a backstage segment between Seth Rollins. He once again reiterates that he's done with Riddle, and he called himself the face of Monday Night Raw. Bobby Lashley then comes in the frame. He says that he doesn't take too kindly of someone else saying they're the face of Monday Night Raw, especially when they don't have gold around their waist like he does. And so they basically agree to fight next week for the U.S. title. Rollins has a great line about like, "You MMA guys are all the same, just want to fight. It's like you guys don't have a single brain cell left." Good stuff though. So that's going to be a banger match. Absolute banger match. Following this, we have The Miz briefly interviewed inside of his home. Again, refusing to speak about Dexter Lumis. The Miz family is there. They're leaving home. Lumis is then shown to be inside the house with a drawing of the entire family. Again, this is a segment a lot of people did not like on Twitter, but I enjoyed it very much. I think Dexter Lumis is such a cute character. Like, it's so whimsical and funny to me. Clearly Dexter Lumis is the babyface here. I know there's like people, oh, how could the Miz be the heel here? And I don't necessarily think the Miz is a heel, but I definitely don't think Dexter Lumis is a heel. Dexter Lumis is just that creep that doesn't understand that he's being weird. I think that's what it's going to end up being. I think it's going to be like he's really trying to win over the Miz's affection. And that's why the Miz isn't talking about it, because obviously the Miz would never pass up an opportunity to be the victim. But whatever happened between them clearly made the Miz kind of like, oh, this is not what I thought this was going to be. So I think that's going to be the reveal there. I don't know if people are just not reading that, or if they still don't like it after reading that, then go ahead. But I really enjoyed this segment, and I enjoy this entire storyline. Following this, though, we have the main event, Edge taking on Dominic Mysterio. People don't talk about how weird this match is because Edge has literally known Dominic since he was a kid. Like, imagine you babysat a 5-year-old and then 12 years later you're like, I want to beat your ass, and then so you do. It's a little weird. Just a little weird, man. So this match is mostly dominated by Edge. He's able to get Dom tied up in the ropes, and he's like really laying into him. Rey Mysterio has to come out and basically say, please stop, dude. This is still my son. Edge tries to push Rey off, but then the rest of the Judgment Day come out and attack both men, and we go off the arrow with Bandana Finn Balor beating up everybody in the ring. People really were into Finn Balor wearing a bandana. What does this mean? Is this a new iteration of Finn Balor? Clearly he's the most dangerous version. So yeah, I think this is a really good spot for Judgment Day. They've been slowly but surely building this group to a level that's respectable, and if they keep up like this, in 2 months time we could see this being like the top faction in wrestling. Maybe a little longer than 2 months, maybe like 5 months, 6 months down the road. So yeah, like I said already a million times, I really liked Raw. I think you should go watch it. Speaking of really good stuff, we had an AEW Dynamite. This was kind of a middle of the road Dynamite, not gonna lie. I think we had like 2 good matches, maybe just 1 good match. Oh no, we definitely had 2 good matches. The segments were a little off too, and we're gonna talk about that. So let's just kick off this Dynamite review, man. I hope you're still here, by the way. I hope I'm not just talking to nobody. But Dynamite kicked off with the AEW World Championship Eliminator semifinals. Jon Moxley taking on Sammy Guevara. This was a fun match, really fun match. Every time Sammy Guevara is advertised for a match, I always think like, ugh. But then when he's in the ring, I'm like, damn, this guy's really good. And I forget about that all the time. But this match, pretty competitive, to be honest. Sammy Guevara, towards the finish, gets Moxley up for a GTH. Moxley is able to get out of it and hit a Death Rider for the win. Really smooth transition out of it, too. William Regal was great on commentary, just absolutely fun. I watched the UK feed of AEW because I got kicked off of my parents' cable, and so I can't watch it live that way. So now I had to like get a VPN, watch it live on Fight. It's a whole deal, right? But the best part of doing it this way is now whenever they go to commercial for the US audience and a match is going on, they say, oh, picture in picture, or we'll be right back after this commercial. The feed keeps rolling and they keep commentary. And that commentary is absolutely hilarious. Tony Schiavone and Taz are just trying to make each other laugh pretty much the entire time. So that always boosts my enjoyment of the show. After this, we have Maxwell Jacob Friedman coming down the ring, explaining that he is before I get into what he actually said, this ventured into a little bit of the MJF territory that I don't like. It ventured into that territory he was in with Brian Pillman Jr. and Darby Allin, where he brings up the super personal stuff that just makes me uncomfortable. Essentially, MJF cuts a promo about John being an alcoholic, but he says, I commend you for kicking your habit, beating your disease, slaying your demons, but MJF is the one demon you will not be able to slay. So at least he wrapped that one up better than he normally does. I enjoyed that one more because he still gave a little bit of a human aspect there instead of just being the absolutely just try hard raunchy to be raunchy kind of thing. MJF also says that neither Jericho or Danielson will be able to beat him, and then he's like, let me introduce the group that helped me get my title shot. When I'm with them, then I'm with them. When I'm not, then I'm not, basically. And it's The Firm is their official name. This brings out Stokely Hathaway leading his group, who just look like the most ragtag group, man. Not a single person was thematically aligned, and it just bothered me. And the way they stood in the ring was also wrong. You need to have Morrissey in the middle because he's ginormous, and you need to kind of have everyone else surrounding him. It's just, I did not like pretty much everything about this next segment was surprisingly hard to watch. I didn't like it. And I love Stokely Hathaway, don't get me wrong. But this, like, let me introduce you one by one and tell you exactly what their goals are. While that is, like, eventually, yes, you do need to establish what this group's goal is. To have it be so individual is a little bit weird, first of all. But then to have you, like, basically baby these words out of them is weird. So Stokely leads these people to the ring, gets them in the ring. He explains that they are all a stable on retainer and they will only be together when MJF requires their assistance. He then explains that everything he's done, including being paired with Jade Cargill, hanging out with the House of Black, it's all been in the pursuit of networking. He then goes one by one by listing what everyone wants. The Gun Club want tag team championships. Lee Moriarty wants the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. Ethan Page wants the On Atlantic Championship, and W. Morrissey just wants to be loved and do whatever he wants to do. And so Stokely gives him a big hug, and it was just awkward, man. It was really weird. Maybe a better way to have done this is to actually break this up into backstage segments. Have Stokely come out with MJF, and then have the guys kind of surround the ring, and then explain that part of their being on retainer only for MJF when they need his assistance. And then they leave. And then later in the night, we get one-on-one interviews between everyone, explaining their goals that way. So that way not everyone's in the ring standing there weird and awkwardly coming out together, especially if they're not going to continuously be a stable. So that's just my opinion, though. Again, I don't book this shit. I don't ever want to be booking it. So just give or take right there. Following this, we have the Jungle Boy and Jay Lethal match. Jungle Boy laid out an open challenge to get himself back on the right footing, and he was able to defeat Jay Lethal here after he gets the snare trap in. Which, honestly, I kind of felt like Jay Lethal needed this win more than Jungle Boy, especially with all the drama Jungle Boy's in. You really could have used that to wonk this finish, but sure. After this, we get a training montage of Hook and Action Bronson training for their tag team match. Looked impressive. Hook in those damn neck bridges. God, that is just, like, it scares me every time, but it's also very impressive. Alex Marvez then tries to interview the best pizza maker in all of New York, Luigi Primo, which is this guy he blew up on TikTok and Instagram because he wrestles while also twirling a pizza really impressively, by the way. Like, he's taking bumps and still flinging a pizza up and down. So he comes in a frame and immediately gets booted by Ethan Page. Page then takes the mic and he's like, am I the only one that takes anything seriously around here? This brings out Danhausen straight out of the, like, center frame of the thing. He comes out and he's like, yes, that's very true. And Page is like, all right, well, next week, or this Friday, I'm going to take care of AEW's biggest jester. And then it takes Danhausen a second to realize he's talking about him. And so that match is announced later on. Following this, we have Powerhouse Hobbs just beating the crap out of someone. He wins really quick with a spine buster, but he busts himself open. I think he just bit his lip when he did the spine buster, so that kind of sucked. Tries to cut a promo after Ricky Starks comes out, doesn't say a word, just starts pummeling Hobbs, hits him with the microphone, sends him out of the ring. And so this feud is not over with. I think I would have preferred some talking here and then Brawl, but sure. After this, we get Darby Allin was at Nitro Circus, which was really cool because I follow Nitro Circus. I really enjoy Nitro. I used to, like, watch their show on MTV so much. Afterwards, though, we have Matt Hardy basically challenging Darby Allin to a match because Darby Allin is more extreme than him. And then, to my surprise, we get the AEW World Tag Team Championships on the line between Swerve in Our Glory and the Lucha Bros, Rey Fenix and Penta El Zero Miedo. Probably this match was because Swerve in Our Glory is definitely losing to the Acclaimed, and they needed to bolster their number of retains or defenses. Yeah, sure. This is a really, really good match. Definitely go out of your way to watch this one. Lucha Bros nearly get a win after they hit a Canadian Destroyer on Keith Lee, but ultimately Lee is able to catch Pentagon for the Big Bang Catastrophe 1, 2, 3. Really good stuff. After this match, the Acclaim walk out to the ring. No rap this time. Just basically say, if you ever interrupt my rap again, I'm going to beat your ass. And next week, we're going to become the next AEW Tag Team Champions. Good stuff. I enjoyed. I think this was the one time where not having a rap really benefited them. Really just gave this a serious moment. Because you know their rap's going to be really good when they actually win the title. So, save it for that. And then we go backstage, and Pac is ready to address the Lucha Bros after losing, but he's blindsided immediately by Orange Cassidy with an orange punch that really surprised me because it doesn't seem in his character to do that. And then he looks down at the All Atlantic title, and they're going to be in a match next week for that. Following this, we have the one per show women's segment. Britt Baker and Serena Deeb taking on Toni Storm and Athena. Athena was a replacement for Hikaru Shida because Britt Baker and what's her name? I have it down here. Rebel. Britt Baker and Rebel attacked Hikaru Shida, making her unable to be in this match, which I don't really know what's the real reason for that. But in the end, Rebel distracts the referee. Serena Deeb. Britt Baker sets up a chair in the corner, and Serena Deeb throws Toni Storm headfirst into the chair and rolls her up for the win. After the match, we get a really weird bit where Jamie Hayter comes down the ring to seemingly save Toni Storm from a beatdown from Britt Baker and Rebel, but she takes the chair that Britt is holding and hits Toni Storm, but then also says, "I haven't forgiven you, Britt." So, not good stuff. Jamie needs to just turn face. You can't have her try to be heel while trying to also leave Britt Baker's grasp. You need to turn babyface all the way. Maybe don't have her save her so directly, but you need to do something here, something different. Like I probably wouldn't even had the beat down with Toni Storm. Probably just have Jamie Hayter come down to the ring, have a stare off. Toni Storm maybe tries to get up, and then Britt Baker nails Toni with the chair, and Jamie just says, "I haven't forgiven you," or whatever. Like, kind of inadvertently be there, I guess. I don't know. I don't think that's any better, to be honest. But anyways, after this, we had our main event of the evening, the AEW World Championship match between the semifinal match between Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho. This was much better than their pay-per-view match. This was probably my favorite Chris Jericho match I've seen in like the last 5 years. This was really hard-hitting, good stuff. Danielson had control a lot in this match, but towards the finish, Jericho does this suplex over the ropes. So Danielson lands on the floor, feet first, and Danielson's selling foot. And you get a little worried because he makes it look so real. He immediately starts taking off his kick pad. He takes off his wrestling boot, and he wrestles the rest of the match in a sock. And it's just like really good stuff, man. Chris Jericho works over it. He gets a figure four lock in. Eventually, though, Danielson's able to counter the figure four into a label lock that shocked me. And then he gets the win right there. He submits Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho actually tapped. That was very surprising to me. It's also the first time that Chris Jericho has ever lost Bryan Danielson. During this match, Garcia was watching the match, and then after the match ended, they showed Garcia again, and he gives his thumbs up approval. He looks really cute there. But then also after the match, Jon Moxley comes down the ring in not all black. He's wearing some normal jeans and a camo hoodie. I was kind of surprised by that. He also rolled up the hoodie all the way. Like his sleeves are rolled up all the way. It was a little weird. He then gets in the ring, faces Danielson, shakes his hand, and these two will compete for that world championship next week. This is interesting, man. I don't know who's winning this one. There's some theories, that MJF might use his poker chip thing to actually cash in after this match. So if that's the case, I don't know if I would want Moxley to win this title back because, you're going to give him a third reign, but it's going to be a very, very short reign. But then also you don't want Danielson's first reign to be short. So you're kind of in a pickle here if that does happen. I'm not necessarily convinced it's going to happen, though. I kind of think they're going to use the poker chip for Full Gear and maybe use that poker chip as a stipulation or something. Or like I get to pick the stipulation because of it. But I definitely see Moxley walking out of Arthur Ashe with that world championship. And that's everything for this week. Let's move on to our preview of the coming week of pro wrestling. This Friday, we have an AEW Rampage that will see Penelope Ford take on Willow Nightingale. That might be a really good match. Ethan Page take on Danhausen. And Darby Allin take on Matt Hardy, as well as a ROH TV title defense. Samoa Joe taking on Josh Woods. That's going to be a really fun match. Also, Josh Woods has a very terrible arm tattoo. No offense to him. It looks fine. Like, it looks like good craftsmanship. It's just the whole, like, your skin ripping off look is just like, oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. Following that, we have WWE's Raw preview. We have the United States Championship, Bobby Lashley taking on Seth Rollins. And we are also going to get Kevin Owens and Austin Theory, so that should be really good. No SmackDown preview that I could find. Might have been my own mistake, but sadly, no SmackDown preview. AEW Dynamite next week is already pretty stacked. We have the All-Atlantic Championship being defended between Pac and Orange Cassidy. We have the AEW Interim Women's World Championship being defended as Toni Storm takes on Athena, Britt Baker, and Serena Deeb in a fatal four-way. We have the AEW World Tag Team Championships being defended. Swerve and Our Glory taking on the Acclaim, and the Acclaim will definitely win that match. And in our main event, we will probably have the AEW World Championship. It's not interim. The World Championship, Jon Moxley taking on Bryan Danielson. My call is Jon Moxley. That's who I have my money on. While I would love to see Danielson win this match, I also think he needs to have a long reign, so it's not the best time for that. And that's everything in pro wrestling this week and coming up. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and please leave a rating and review. Subscribe to the channel, like this video on YouTube, go on to your Instagram and Twitter, and follow Hold for Hold. You're probably on it right now while you're listening to this, so you might as well just put in the extra effort there. But yeah, thank you guys again. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.